Thank you, everybody. We're very excited to be here today. My name is Marlise Tumalo, and I work for the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary. And the presentation that we're doing today is called Grow Business Productivity Through Better Environmental Practices. And we have a couple specific goals for this presentation. One is for folks to be able to learn actionable solutions to building business resilience and profitability while also implementing environmental actions. And another is to acquire free resources and tools to assist you in this journey as you move forward in implementing green best practices. And I'd just like to take a moment before we begin to thank DEMA for the sponsorship of this presentation. We're thrilled to be here. So a little outline about what we're going to be doing today. First, we're going to talk a little bit about the Blue Star and the Green Fins programs. Next, we're going to discuss the consumer shift to sustainability and what we call the sustainability pathway. We have two fantastic dive operators with us here today who will provide some case studies about how they implemented these items in their business. And then we have some tools that will be available for you to use to implement at your own organization. A little additional background on us. The Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary is part of a system of national marine sanctuaries around the country. These are marine protected areas that are managed by NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And we protect more than 620,000 square miles of ocean and Great Lakes waters. And just to give you an idea of what that actually looks like, that's bigger than the state of Alaska. I mentioned that I specifically work with the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary. This marine sanctuary is off the southern coast of Florida in the United States, surrounding the island chain of the Florida Keys. And if you are visiting the Florida Keys and you dip your toes in the water, you are in the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary. Now, our mandate is resource protection. And so with that in mind, we created a voluntary recognition program called the Blue Star program. And this program was established with the goal of reducing impacts of divers and snorkelers and anglers on the ecosystems of the Florida Keys. And the Blue Star program salutes charter boat operators who promote responsible and sustainable diving and fishing practices, helping to keep the ecosystem healthy for generations to come. So many of the tools that and actions that we discussed today are implemented by our Blue Star operators with the goal of having a more sustainable business. So we encourage you, if you come to the Florida Keys, to look before you book and seek out a Blue Star operator. With that, I'm going to pass it off to Chloe.
Thanks, Marlise. Hi, everyone. I'm Chloe Harvey. I'm a professional scuba diver. I've been diving for over 25 years, but I'm also a marine biologist, and I've been working with the Reef-World Foundation for over 10 years now. And the Reef-World Foundation is a UK registered charity which delivers practical solutions for marine conservation around the world. And our main program is Green Fins, which we're international coordinators of, and we run in partnership with the United Nations Environment Programme. Green Fins covers four main aspects. Firstly, the code of conduct, 15 actions and activities that dive centres follow to reduce their impact on the marine environment above and below the water. Secondly, a robust assessment system to measure and monitor compliance to the code. Thirdly, outreach and capacity building among dive centres, the wider diving industry and governments. And then fourthly, where it's necessary, strengthening of regulatory frameworks. The programme has been developed by divers since 2004, and it's really seen to influence core businesses. It started off in Thailand in 2004, and then it spread across Southeast Asia, more recently into the Caribbean, and even more recently into the Red Sea, Egypt. We work with over 600 dive centres around the world. So just to jump on to a bit more about what we're diving into today, sustainability is really going mainstream. More than ever, as the world suffers from the effects of this pandemic, your customers are looking for products and services that align with their values, that make them feel safe and invested in. They need to trust your offerings, and sustainability is really seen as a key indicator for that. Here you can see some data from the Sustainable Travel International, that shows that more than half of the US market are selecting their travel company based on their sustainability practices. And this is really too big to ignore. Furthermore, Booking.com, a research survey done by Booking.com showed that 87% of their travelers want more sustainable travel options. So this is really speaking volumes. Zooblue, which is a specialized online dive holiday booking company, saw that 73% of their customers have trouble finding the best eco-friendly options. So we really want dive centers and dive providers to shout and scream about what they're doing. We know that the millennial market is really focused on sustainability. So this is going to grow. This is going to become a bigger deal in years to come. And governments and industry are starting to focus on sustainable tourism campaigns to be able to access this green, growing tourism market. Now, in North America, the dive industry is maturing. And we know if we follow the natural life cycle of a business, that at this point, businesses either need to reinvent or they run the risk of dying. And sustainability really does offer an opportunity for rebirth for our businesses. Sustainability gives our businesses new opportunities, new customers, a compelling mission, new fresh staff, but it really does need to be more than handing out reusable bottles. It needs to become part of your business model. So I'd like to move on to The Golden Circle by Simon Sinek, and I'd like to give a big shout out to Laurie Wilson from the Blue Ocean Network here for putting me onto this concept. It beautifully describes it. So here you can see that traditional businesses start with the outside, the what. This is what we do. We take you on scuba diving trips. And then the how. This is how we do it. We're located close to very nice reefs. And then the why. This is why we do it. We're divers that love diving, and we know that you do too. A sustainable mindset flips it around and starts right at the center. We're divers who love the ocean and want to protect it. How? We noticed that as diving has become more popular in our area, the reef health has declined. So we decided to review our own policies to make sure that we're not contributing to that. And then what? Our services are underpinned by sustainability. Our customers come to us because they know that we will put the environment first and that we'll invest in building their skills to ensure they can protect it too. And this is called the Golden Circle, and it works much like a pebble being dropped in a pond. The positive mindset expands outwards and impacts more and more people in its wake. Customers really want to know your story. They want to know your why before they give you their time and their money. They don't want to be treated as a consumer group because they treasure their individuality and they expect you to do the same. They don't want to be targeted. They like to interact with the brands and the staff. They like to feel that personal touch. And if you lie, if you greenwash, they will tell your friends and their social media networks not to trust you. And these days, trust is a much more valuable commodity than money. So now I want to move on to giving you some tips on really how to start doing this, how to build sustainability into your why. And unfortunately, it's not a click of a fingers, it is a process. So here's the sustainability pathway, which we've developed over 16 years, working with over 600 dive centres through Greenfins. And step one represents the awakening. This is the awareness to the need to change as a result of something happening. And we've seen that if this journey is going to be successful, the decision to shift to sustainability must come from the top down. It can't be led by the staff. It needs to come from management. And then step two sees some low-hanging fruits being tackled. And this could include, for example, reducing single-use plastics in operations. And these challenges are typically low financial investments at this stage, but they're accompanied by a gentle but very credible internal shift in philosophy. Then step three navigates through some bigger steps, which often require more investment. It could include changing suppliers to more eco-conscious suppliers who perhaps supply in bulk or without any plastic. Or it could include changing boat engines to more environmentally friendly options or switching to renewable energies. And then by step four, the business really begins to embody sustainability with its ethos, and real benefits start to emerge. New opportunities and collaborations, for example, working with local government on environmental projects, which could result in you being able to offer new, higher value products, which we'll hear a little bit about later, some opportunities with that. At this point, staff choose to work with you because of your values, and they are happy to carry your message day in, day out, and they will stay with you for longer. Your consumers, your customers become your leading marketing tool, and through word of mouth, and they'll also return. They'll keep on coming back for more. By step 5, sustainability is your mission. It's your why. It's the reason your business exists and succeeds. By this point, you really do enjoy many beneficiaries, fierce brand loyalty. Everything and everyone you attract begins to reflect your values. And if you'd like some inspiration of brands that are well and truly on the sustainability pathway towards the top end of it, then please do look into Fourth Element and Paralens, 2 manufacturing companies that have really put sustainability in the heart of the business models. With that said, I'd like to pass on to another sustainability leader, Mike Goldberg, who's the owner and operator of PreDive in Isla Morada, Florida, a Blue Star operator.
Thank you, Chloe. It's a pleasure to be here. Yes, I am the owner of PreDive in Isla Morada, and we have made conservation a core principle as for our business. Let me just outline some of the things that we have done over the last few years and talk about some other items. We have removed over 6 tons of debris from our waters in partnership with the National Marine Sanctuary Foundation and Goal Clean Seas. It's a wonderful program. It's been locally supported by the media, divers, and in addition, we have advertised in various social media outlets and have picked up divers from around the US and around the world, actually, that have participated in our cleanup dives. It's great for community relations. You'd be surprised how well that works politically. One other thing we've done is we take 2% of our gross proceeds from all of our diving operations and we donate to conservation. Divers want to be affiliated with an organization that gives back. And as a founder of ECourse, which is locally here in Isla Morada, dedicated to the restoration of our coral reefs, I truly know the need and importance for donors. We also coordinated throughout the Keys a wetsuit wrangle. We've collected all of the wetsuits in the Upper Keys for the last 3 years and have them recycled into yoga mats. We have them recycled into placemats, coasters, things of that nature. We are involved with coral outplant excursions. So we get involved with local organizations to transplant corals. All of these things are great for families. It's great for repeat business. It ensures a future reef for future generations. And I think it's a great building block for any dive business. You might think that these items that I mentioned are principally for destination shops, but honestly, I think if a traditional, more landlocked shop focuses on conservation, I think they'll get greater success. When you do a trip to Bonaire, you run a trip to the Florida Keys, you run a trip to Malaysia, wherever you go, if you have one of your days dedicated to conservation, your staff that sells these trips are going to feel empowered and your customers are going to feel rewarded for those efforts. When you make those trips, set up a debris removal dive as part of that trip. Seek out a coral restoration organization, Coral Restoration Foundation, ECourse, something to help regenerate the reef. Just make sure that you offer excursions, I believe, on these trips, and you will get returning customers year after year. In addition to those benefits, your staff will benefit as well. Your dive masters, your instructors want to be affiliated with a shop that cares. And the younger instructors, the younger dive masters are more attuned to that mentality, and in many cases, those are the reasons why they have become involved in diving. So you will find that not only is your staff able to sell those trips easier, book people on these types of excursions more readily, but you will retain your staff because they do want to be involved with these types of organizations, these types of efforts. In short, I think you'll find that conservation is a business model that works. And the more efforts you place into those areas, you'll find that you have a burgeoning business, a returning customer base, and a future ocean and a future reef for the next generation.
Thank you very much, Mike. What brilliant ideas and inspiration that you brought to everyone today. Thank you very much. So from that, I'd like to move on to the takeaways and tools section, some things that you can pick up today and get started with. So the Greenfins website hosts a whole bunch of guidance tools, documents, posters, and they're all free for download from the download section of the website. So please do visit it and use them as freely as you can. Typically, the materials are targeted either at divers or dive industry professionals. So to just give you a taste of what's available, I'd like to zoom in on one of the 15 code of conduct points, which is code of conduct number 9, operate under a minimum discharge policy, which can be a sticking point for many dive centres. So here's 2 examples of posters that can be used to help you promote this to your divers. The do not use toxic sunscreen poster, which is also supported by an infographic that gives a little bit more information. And then also the Greenfins guidelines to using chemical cleaning products. So how to use disinfectants, antibacterials safely for the environment, particularly important today following the COVID cleaning regulations. And then also the clean and green recipes, a recipe for a homemade environmentally friendly cleaning solution. Another really helpful tool for diving professionals is the Greenfins Dive Guide ECourse, which is a culmination of all of our lessons and tools in one training course for dive guides. This is also accessible through the Greenfins website, but the link is also included in the handout that's available alongside this presentation today. The course has 3 modules. So first of all, the first one explains why it's imperative to protect coral reefs, and the second one gives specific guidance for management techniques above the water, and the third one, management techniques below the water, how to confidently lead a dive using positive role model behavior and follow through with those all-important underwater corrections. So the course is completely free, and if anyone wants to display their completion certificate, they can pay $24 for that certificate at the end of the course, and all of those fees go towards our work to protect coral reefs. I'd like to now hand over to Marlies to walk you through some more of the tools that we have available today.
Thanks very much, Chloe. So as Chloe mentioned, there will be a handout available with this presentation that provides all of these tools to you to use in the future. What we're doing here is we're encouraging dive guides to really redefine the way they guide their dives so that they can keep up with the trend for green services. Recognizing that by providing dive briefing, a pre-dive briefing results in a drop of the chances of divers making damaging contact to the reef from 37% to only 7%. We really encourage folks to implement this pre-dive briefing on every dive. In research that was done in the Florida Keys, divers who received a Blue Star pre-dive briefing caused significantly less damage to coral, with a decrease in sediment deposition, tissue abrasion, and skeletal breakage. So to give you an idea of what could be included in this pre-dive briefing, Greenfins has a fantastic video on this topic that I'm going to play now.
PreDive environmental briefing. Why is an environmental briefing important?
By including the environmental briefing so that the divers avoid to break the corals and harass the animals, to preserve the corals for the next generation and more diving to come and enjoy.
What to include in an environmental briefing? Implement a no-touch policy. Touching the reef can damage it and spread diseases and cause stress to the animals. Promote a strict no-glove policy. By providing protection, gloves encourage divers to touch the marine life. Respect marine life. Chasing or harassing animals can cause stress and harm. Ensure guests respect their space. Do not step on coral. Corals are very fragile animals that take many years to grow. By encouraging your divers to practice good buoyancy, you ensure you protect the coral and your business. Make sure all equipment is secured. Loose equipment can drag along the seabed and damage marine life. Use clips and pockets to streamline divers' gear. Remind your guests to be responsible photographers. Ensure divers assess the situation before approaching, maintain neutral buoyancy, and are aware of their equipment and fins. Help guests be good role models. Encourage staff to assist and correct guests. This will improve their diving experience and set a good example for others.
Green fins are big help to everybody like me and the other divers. Rock and roll!
So that's a great resource available. So Reef-World research has shown that about 64% of all diver contacts happen in the first 20 minutes of a dive. And this is generally because divers are distracted with adjusting their buoyancy. This information is really, really powerful for dive guides because it means that by closely monitoring your divers, especially during this first 20 minutes, you can really have an impact on minimizing diver contact with the reef. And what's really important is ensuring that divers are comfortable with their buoyancy before taking them in areas where they'll be swimming over the reef. And that vastly reduces the chances of divers coming into contact with the reef. Another interesting fact is that of all the damaging contacts made to coral, by far the greatest proportion of these are made by fin kicks. So fin kicks are a big problem. Encouraging divers to practice advanced finning techniques such as frog kicking or back kicking away from areas will help to reduce these impacts. It's also really important to ensure buoyancy control is implemented and encourage divers to practice this. To provide you with some additional tools for guiding divers on environmental practices, we have another video from Greenfins that I'm going to launch.
Guiding divers towards best environmental practice. Why is it important to guide divers towards best environmental practice? Research shows that correcting customers underwater helps them to improve their diving ability and learn best environmental practices. Here are the behaviours a guide should look out for so they can correct divers underwater and help them become good environmental role models. Divers that bring too much extra weight can cause a lot of damage to the reef. Remove extra weight until the diver can remain neutrally buoyant. Secure all diver equipment before entering the water to prevent it from dragging along the reef. Remember to check your divers and re-secure anything that comes loose during the dive. Stirring the sediment can damage corals and ruin visibility. Show divers that they should keep their fins up and away from the seabed by frog kicking horizontally. Contact with coral can damage and kill it. Dive guides should always stop divers kicking or touching coral and ask them to remain horizontal and neutrally buoyant in the water. Chasing marine life can cause serious stress and damage. Get your divers to relax and enjoy marine life from a respectful distance. Touching coral can damage it or spread disease. Guides should correct their customers and ask them not to wear gloves. All marine life provides coral reefs with the valuable nutrients and materials they need to survive. Take nothing but pictures and leave nothing but bubbles. Dive guides can be exceptional role models. Helping customers improve their diving abilities by correcting them underwater will make their trip even more memorable.
So that's another great resource that is available to share with your staff. So as was mentioned in the video, the most successful deterrent to diver damage appears to be direct intervention by an underwater dive guide, which can actually reduce diver coral contact by as much as 80%. Customers also really enjoy feeling like they're learning and improving during their experience, especially with newer divers. Reef-World suggests that supporting your briefings with underwater corrections can reduce damaging behavior even more, and they've shown that this impact can span beyond that dive into the future. With this in mind, Reef-World has created some tools for dive guides to use. They've selected specific icons that can be used in a series of flashcards, and these are small enough that they can be kept in your BCD pocket and be shown to guests underwater at times when it's necessary to intervene in behavior. So to give you an example of what these are, you can see that there is do not chase or touch marine life, don't wear gloves, don't step on coral. This is really an active way to show divers what is happening and help correct that behavior. So by supplying these to your dive guides, you're strongly empowering them to be champions of these environmental causes and really bringing home your why of having the environment be the center of your business. Research also shows that less damage is done to coral when dive guides have smaller groups. And I'm sure many of you have seen this in practice. So with this in mind, Greenfins recommends a ratio of 4 divers to 1 guide to ensure the octopus effect, which is basically when a diver needs 8 arms to control all of their group, doesn't take over, so that the diver can really focus on those divers and making interventions necessary. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to Chloe.
As a final for this tools and takeaways, I just want to leave on underwater photography. And we know that underwater photography leads to more chance of making those damaging contacts as well. So it's really important that close attention and support is given to any of your customers that carry cameras with them. And a little bit of help is offered to you through the Greenfins how-to video for managing underwater photographers. And the whole how-to series, there's 9 of them, can be found on the Greenfins YouTube channel. Please feel free to visit it, use it within your dive centres for training staff whenever you feel like it's applicable. There's also the underwater photography guidelines, which can be freely available, downloaded through the Greenfins website. So I'd like to hand over to one of our other fantastic guest speakers today, Pacey, who's a co-owner of Bubbles Dive Centre and Resort based in the Perhentian Islands in Malaysia, where Greenfins is ran by the brilliant Reef Check Malaysia team and the fantastically inspirational guys that make it up. So thank you very much, Pacey.
Hi, I'm Pacey. I'm a co-owner of Bubbles Dive Resort and Dive Centre. I'm also a dive instructor, or a reef check instructor as well. Well, here at Bubbles, we have been with Greenfins for 5 years, which means we have 5 environmental assessments done by them. Some of the feedbacks that we got from them were using a more environmental friendly cleaning products, providing a lidded trash bin in the boat for the divers and snorkelers, and also changing our boat engine to a more green engine. The difficult things for us is our challenge on the island is because of our location, which is really remote and we are really far away from everything. And it was really hard to find a suitable environmental friendly product in a small village. luckily that we found the homemade cleaning recipe really useful, so we make use of them fully, and it works really well. Our biggest challenge also was to change the boat engine to a 4-stroke engine due to financial restriction, which we finally got around to do it this year. And the proudest thing that we have achieved at our dive resort and dive center is our fight against the single-use plastic or trash. We have implemented that we do not provide drinking single-use plastic bottles in our rooms or to our divers, but we have free water refill service for them. We also provide them bottles if they don't have their own bottles. That we don't serve drinks with straws. Everybody has to make do without straw. In our conservation project, we also will make sure that the guests understand that using a toxic sunscreen is harmful to the environment. We will try to explain to them what are the ingredients that is harmful to the environment and what to look for when they purchase a sunscreen. Some of our staff actually carry the good habit they learned from us by eliminating single-use plastic and trash when they go home during the monsoon break. And they were very proud when they come back and say, oh, their family has reduced single-use plastic. During these years, the pandemic, we picked up a lot of single-use masks during our beach clean, and that's really heartbreaking. So we decided to make sure we decided to make reusable masks. And so we have our nice little masks and give it to all our crew to use them. Okay, when we are practicing, in order to carry out our mission to make sure that our divers have a good diver behavior, when we are recruiting, we make sure that all our dive pro are in the same page as us. They must be very environmental conscious. They must be dedicated in teaching good diver behavior to their student divers and also certified divers. We make sure that they mention no mask, no gloves policy during our pre-dive briefing, and also point out the things to do and not to do when they are diving, so that they can practice good diving etiquettes. So when we finish our dive, we will also conduct a debriefing, because that way we can talk about the things that they learned during the dive, or the things that they did wrong, or the good behavior that they actually carry out, just to encourage them that they continue to practice their good diving behavior when they are diving with us or somewhere elsewhere. So we believe that the communication is really, really important. And many of our guests actually keep coming back to us because they find that they learn every time when they are diving with us. And they keep bringing back their friends, hoping that we will educate their friends so that they are more responsible when they are diving. And we strongly believe that this knowledge can be passed on to all our divers, and then they can spread around when they are not diving just with us, when they're diving somewhere else. So that's really, really important. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pacey, for joining us and for giving us some true inspiration there as well, some real tips in that presentation. So thank you. So I'd like to just round off with some of the takeaways from the session. So you can grow your business through sustainable practices. Sustainability is going mainstream and it will continue to do so over the future years. So you need to really jump on board this. Consider the golden circle. To really do this with meaning, you must make sustainability your why. You must seat it within the heart of your business and make it the reason that your business exists and succeeds. And then finally, there are resources available for you to support you. A lot of the tips that we've talked about today are not expensive. It's a change in attitude, a change in mindset. It's something that you can do right now, today. Some of the other things we've talked about are a little bit more investment, so they're things to consider once you start getting momentum going along that sustainability pathway. We wish you the best of luck. The next slide just has our contact details. So if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us, myself, Chloe, or Marlies over at the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuaries. Once again, a big thank you to DEMA for sponsoring this event here today. And I guess we'd just like to hand over now to Tech for some questions.